Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for the servicemen and women throughout the world and for those who passed away in our community, especially Angela Sacco and Patricia Nape. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Present.
Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Dr. Rothchild? Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Smurl?
Here. There will be a motion this evening to suspend the rules and move items 5B to 6th and 7th orders for a final vote. This ordinance is an intergovernmental agreement and memorandum of understanding between the City of Scranton and the Borough of Moosic. Also, there will be a motion to suspend the rules and move items 5J to 7th order for a final vote after it is introduced in 5th order. This resolution is proposed revision of the sewer facilities plan at the Scranton Primary Health at 923 Wyoming Avenue. Anyone who would like to speak on these pieces of legislation may do so in 4th order during citizens' participation. Dispense with the minutes.
3rd order, 3A, correspondence received from City Business Administration on July 2nd, 2024, regarding updated payroll preparation tax collections as of June 25th, 2024. 3B, correspondence received July 5th, 2024, from Business Administration regarding budget transfer related to Fire Department capital expenditures.
Are there any comments on any of the 3rd order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have a quick one. So the Scranton Police Department is now offering T-shirt sales in conjunction with their upcoming National Night Out celebration, which is scheduled in August. So you can get your T-shirts starting actually yesterday. Shirts are available at Scranton Police Headquarters during normal business hours. They have sizes available, are small through 3X, and they're $20, and they're pretty sharp-looking shirts. So that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. Anyone else?
Yes, I had one. Last Saturday, I had an opportunity to participate in the cleanup over at the Washburn Street Cemetery. And I just wanted to announce that there's going to be another cleanup on July 20th. I wanted to thank several of the groups that came out. Mr. Smurl was in attendance that day, but the Black Sheep of West Scranton, the AOH Division 4, and Bogies for Berkey also participated in that cleanup. But the next cleanup will be July 20th from 8 a.m. until noon, and I encourage any and all residents to attend that cleanup. We got about, I'd say, about halfway through the cemetery with the rest to go.
We did the low part. Let's the high stuff is yet to come, but yeah, we got a lot done. It's starting to look well.
That's all.
Just briefly, my family and I were away last week, so I felt bad I was not able to show my respects for former Mayor James Connors. He was a friend, known him a long, long time, and I just wanted to express my condolences to Susie and the entire family, Connors family. I think everyone has their own unique little stories about Mayor Connors and the effect he had on our city. He was a great public servant, and he'll be dearly missed. The other thing I'd like to add is on Sunday, I had the opportunity to walk around Naog Park a couple miles. I think it's important to acknowledge the work that's being done up there by the Scranton Municipal Rec Authority, all the volunteers that go up there constantly to improve that park. I know recently we had roads paved up there, pathways paved. There's tons of new benches throughout Naog Park. The bandstand is outstanding. Lots of plants, vegetation planted around Naog, and you have that coal mine tour now. The only piece that's missing is the pool, and we're going to be passing some legislation on that this evening so we can get that project started, and we'll get a pool back up in Naog Park and restore that place back to its grandeur. But I have to tell you that I was very impressed as I walked around that park with all the tremendous work, and a lot of it volunteer work, probably the majority of it volunteer work. So kudos to all the people that spend a tremendous amount of time dedicated to improving our Naog Park. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. I just want to say thank you to one of the people that come out to the parks and the cleanup on the Washburn Cemetery on Saturday, Brian Johnson. One of my good friends, and he was with us Saturday. When he got home, he actually had a heat stroke and fell on his porch. I think he's doing okay now, but I want to thank and I recognize him for all the work he's done and volunteers every week with us. Thank you.
Fourth order, citizen participation.
First, Joan Hodowanis.
Joan Hodowanis, Scranton. I was very impressed by the caucus with Clifton, Lawson, and Allen. I have a loop recorder implanted in my chest, and it was going beep, 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 that we're going to have the first on-time audit in over 20 years. But that's not just due to the current auditors that you have. That's the hard work of Matt Dominus. And I'm telling you, when he walks out the door, you're going to be hard-pressed to find someone with half his brain. So you ought to keep him as long as you can. Do you know what Friday is? July 12th? It's the 9th anniversary of the death of Patrolman John Wilding. And I hope everybody pauses and remembers this man, this young man, with the wife and 2 little boys who gave his life for this city. Very special person. In terms of the collective bargaining agreements, the police contract is going on 346 days, firefighters 462 days and counting. But if you see a first responder, a police officer, a firefighter, just say thank you for the job you do, because their jobs are very, very dangerous, as losing Patrolman Wildman should remind us all. The stormwater update, there was a press release, and 2 months from today is September 9th, the first anniversary of the flood. And so it's good news that we passed the first hurdle to get the $2.7 million to buy out those 18 homes and 3 vacant lots. But something I want you to keep in mind for, future natural disasters. These homeowners, most of these people, if not all of them, have been paying property taxes faithfully for years. And the city really should be taking care of its citizens when the citizens suffer through no fault of their own. So I hope that we don't let up going forward with getting them taken care of, because it's important. Speaking of the Naog pool and the multi-scape contract that's in tonight's legislation, I noticed that the projected completion date was September 17th, 2025, which means that swimming will occur at the earliest in 2026. And I hope that we don't see any people trying to swim in the gorge again and having a fatality or a serious injury. That's a long time to have to wait. I also noticed that one of the other bidders was Dominic Scartelli. Is this the same Scartelli organization that's involved in the lawsuit with the Sorrenti Center?
Yes.
Okay. Well, guess what? Their name pops up again. D&M Construction is the contractor for the Weston Field Pool, which is also on tonight's legislation, and they were one of the other bidders again. I found that very amusing. Apparently, it doesn't bother them to be sued and countersuing, and yeah, if there's money to be made, I guess you make a bid. But what I didn't see in the backup was a completion date for the Western Field Pool, if you can find that out. The Garrity gift cards, $5,000. I thought that was a really nice piece of legislation. $225 gift cards, and apparently code enforcement's going to be choosing, these homeowners each quarter. What is the basis by which they're choosing these lucky winners of these gift cards? Because there's certainly more than 200 homeowners who, are keeping up their properties.
There are, and this is just the beginning. We actually spoke of this in the Southside Residents Association meeting last year when the mayor had come, and the idea is to, we're not going to give it to the
Okay, you can
wealthiest
tell me
house.
later.
Okay.
I only have a few seconds.
I will.
The ESPRI contract, I didn't understand that at all. I read it and read it until I went blind. Please tell me during fifth order, what is the city's geospatial strategy? Never heard of such a thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Les Spindler?
Good evening, Council. Les Spindler, city resident, homeowner. I want to talk about something I haven't brought up in a long time, dangerous dog legislation. I know I spoke to the mayor, I think it was last year, and she agreed that the legislation that was passed should be tweaked. And I know council was supposed to have a meeting with her. Has anything happened? Does anybody know?
Not that I'm aware
Can we
of.
look
I don't
into
know.
that?
Not that I'm aware of, to be honest with you.
Because she agreed with me that the legislation has to be tweaked. It's not strong enough. And I've been here many times and spoke about it. Moving on. It was brought to my attention that Euclid Avenue, the part that runs through the Village of Trip Park development, was paved recently. So it's only a couple blocks from my house, so I went and looked the other day. Yeah, it was paved, but they left 2 blocks out which weren't paved. I don't know why.
It seems like if they went another 40 feet or 70 feet, it would have alleviated any kind of potholes on that street, but just come up
but
short.
From Dickens to Court Street, it's not too bad. From Court Street to whatever the next block is, it's terrible. It's like driving on a washboard. Why that wasn't paved, I don't have a clue. They did the whole thing right through the development, but 2 blocks they didn't do. Like I said, that 1 block, it's terrible. I don't know what maybe it has to do with the mayor lives further up. Maybe that's why they did that, not the first part. Well, I guess she lives there part-time, because the other time she lives in Clark Summit. Moving on again. Hole on Dorothy Street is still there. And the corner where I live, in October, it'll be 3 years, and nothing's been done since they told me it's gonna get fixed. So maybe if Tom Preamble was still in charge of DPW, all these things would get done. And the last couple weeks, my garbage has been a day late also getting picked up. It was supposed to be picked up this month, last week. On Monday, it was picked up Tuesday. The holiday was Thursday. So DPW's in a shambles. The mayor should call Tom Preamble and beg him to come back and run DPW, because he did a great job. Now the department's a mess. There's so many things wrong with it. There was, like I said, I heard from a good source, our fire chief was running it. I never heard of such a ridiculous thing in my life. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Bolus?
Evening, Council. Bob Wallace, Scranton. Last week when I was up here, and tonight, I would like to really see this happen out of one of you at least, to make a motion to change the expressway to Mayor Jim Connors. That's who we should be honoring on the expressway. He's a Scranton resident, a lifelong resident. He's not a part-time phony who was here and lives in Delaware. and right now is embarrassing us worldwide. So please, respect and honor those that made this city what it is today. 12 years of his labors went into this city, and each and every one of us owe that to Jimmy. To at least make a motion, whether you approve it or you don't, but at least do what's right for a change. And put all the political crap behind us and make a motion tonight to change the expressway for Jimmy. We owe him that, and I would like to see it done. Okay, he was not only a good mayor, he was a damn good friend of mine also, and everybody else here. His door was always open. So let's not just shut the door on him, let's honor him, like what we did with McDade on the expressway, and you know what he was, and we still named it expressway for him. So let's do what's right. I have a petition going to change the sign on 81 through PennDOT to get rid of Biden's name and just call it Scranton X Exit. Okay, we're an embarrassment. We're all being embarrassed by him, everybody that goes down that interstate. And every day we see it turns our stomach to see what he's done to this country and done to the people, and then lie that no one of our military, our fellow vets, died on his watch. He didn't know what happened in Afghanistan, and he was too busy looking at his watch. We got to honor those that deserve to be honored and respected. There's no respect. So we have a petition doing that. Now, the homes are being demolished here in the city for the flood. Why don't we, in the city, when they're all torn down, make a deal with one of the modular companies and put up all new modulars there and either give them back to the people whose homes were torn down or rent them out. Become a landlord. Look what's going on in this city with everybody renting this, renting that, and we're just giving it away. We'll not only create income, but we'll have people occupied. And we have the resources to do it. There's all kind of state and federal money to do it, and I would strongly suggest let's do that. Let's not leave a blighted area then when everything's gone. It's going to look like hell. The other part is I have all those disinfectant wipes that we've been donating out, and anybody that wants them, if I may, Mr. President, give our phone number.
Sure.
It's 570-346-7659, and it's at Bolus Truck Parts, one of my companies, and the flight, and all these wipes are available for them. The other thing is, I see the lights are all out here. If Bill Gahan was sitting here tonight, he'd be spastic. We'd have to probably put him in therapy because he wants to spend thousands in the county to make his little lights blink. So maybe we get his little lights blinking. I don't want to put him in therapy because his lights aren't working. And why aren't we flying the Ukraine and Israeli flags in here if you don't want to put them outside? Let's honor those that are being murdered, butchered, and everything, and respect them for what's going on. We owe it to them under that flag as an American. Okay? Why are we hiding our heads in the sand? We need to step up and respect those. We're not Palestinians, and we're sure in hell not Hamas Palestinians, and we're not a bunch of idiots running around destroying our statues, our culture, and spray painting and everybody else and protesting, and then we put them back in college and our money pays for them. So we got to get all that done. And one last thing. I know Jessica's in here tonight. I go for physical therapy. I tore an Achilles tendon, and there's nothing greater than a physical therapist, and she's highly recommended. And I don't know why she doesn't respect all her fellow representatives that are physical therapists and put behind her name that she's a physical therapist. That's a misrepresentation. She could call herself doctor. But please, Mr. President, make a motion to respect all the physical therapists that she represents and honor them while she's sitting here, and she should do that out of respect to all her fellow people. She's highly recommended, and she's well-known, and nobody had a bad thing to say about her. as a physical therapist. She should be honored and proud to represent them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Scarini?
A pleasant good evening, Council. Now, usually I come here with a suit and tie. And now I come with a T-shirt.
Can you speak up a little bit? I can't hear you.
I say usually I come here with a suit and tie, but now I come here with a T-shirt, and that's because it's like 94 degrees out there, so if I had a suit like, I would need an ambulance, thank you. So I just wanted to follow up from last week, Council. I wanted to know if legislation passes for the, excuse me, can you stop pounding your feet on the floor? All right. Now,
Listen, Gerald, can you please check this man?
oh, man.
Don't speak.
Leave me alone. All I'm doing is sitting
Man,
there.
here we go.
Quiet down.
I'm sick of this shit.
Tom?
All right.
I come in here, somebody complain.
Oh, man, here we go. All right. So I wanted to know if legislation passes when the legalization of marijuana happens, can we activate cannabis lounges here in Scranton, just like in Las Vegas?
Please address council. Don't look back there.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Like the City Council of Las Vegas did, they incorporated cannabis lounges so tourists and people can go to this lounge and enjoy cannabis. And so I wanted to know, this state is really soon going to go to recreational. I talked to that Emily Kincaid. I spoke to her and I said, when are we going to go recreational? And she said, soon. But she said, you can't disobey federal law on marijuana. Let me just tell you a quick comments on when we go recreational, Council. Because the federal government does not activate the currency system, everything is in cash. And so when you go in Las Vegas, they make the delivery and they get held up and they have to pay over the cash and the weed at the same time. That's because it's not deregulated and it's not decriminalized here. Be very careful, Council, when we go to recreational. You're going to open up a Pandora's box, and you wish you never did. And a final thought about...
Please address council.
And a final thought about this Biden, and then I'll leave. Yesterday, a children's hospital was bombed by Putin's missiles, and many children were killed and injured. Before the start of this war, I told Biden on all kinds of email messages and voice messages, and he did not listen to me. I said, you go there with the maximum amount of force right on the Ukrainian border, and you say to Putin, you wait 1 foot in Ukraine, and we'll bomb you right off the planet. It's like two cougars in the jungle looking at each other, and that would have saved all kinds of lives. But those baby face advisors know nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's Sullivan and Blinken. And now children are dead in Ukraine. That is all, Council.
Mark, do you know that one last name? Anselli?
Corelli.
Good evening, Council President, Council, everyone. I hope everybody's well. Mark Cordelli, Lackawanna County, representing the commissioners on behalf of the commissioners. Wanted to say hello. And also make everyone aware of some of the wonderful events that are going on throughout Lackawanna County. So if I could, I know of time here, I'll go through these fairly quickly if I can. Thank you. For example, this Thursday and every Thursday until August 1st, noon to 1 p.m., Noon Tunes at the Courthouse Square, where summer concerts are back. Join us for some Noon Tunes with Tony Verganelli, every Thursday from noon to 1 Lackawanna County Courthouse Square, Linden Street, Scranton. Bring a friend, grab a bite, and let the good vibes flow. Tony will make things happen for you. Wonderful program here. Our Area Agency on Aging, Fridays in the Park has commenced. Crafts, entertainment, bingo, lunch, nutritional education. For people 60 plus, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a free event. The dates are listed on here, and I'll be more than happy. I'll leave all this information for you guys. If you'd like to post it, that'd be fantastic. The next session is going to be this Thursday, the 12th of July at Aylesworth Park. Also with the Area on Aging, Lackawanna County Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. There is a wonderful program here. There is eligibility criteria that people must meet to get some coupons. The distribution list is scheduled, and the last one here is scheduled for July 24th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Scranton Co-op Farmers Market on Baring Street. So that'll be the last one for this year. Family Fun Days at the park, presented by the Park and Recreations Department. This also is a free event. It's Saturday. It's going to be at Merle-Sinoski Park on July 13th. Live music, hot dogs, soft drinks, arts and crafts. It'll be a nice, wonderful time there. Our Arts and Culture Department, Arts in the Park, actually commenced today. It's a free event, 10 a.m. to noon. It was at Merle-Sinoski Park today. It's every Tuesdays. So next Tuesday, the 16th of July, it's going to be at Covington Park. Lots of crafts. They're hula hooping and singing and having good times up there. There is a youth soccer clinic which commenced this week, but there's another session that's going to happen at Covington Park July 15th, 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. The cost of the program is $45, and you can sign up. There's a registration form right here below. You can sign up for that. It's a great program for youth soccer. This July 26th and 27th, the 3-on-3 basketball tournament. The commissioners are bringing back this, resurrecting this, something that COVID unfortunately took away from us. Right now it's tentatively scheduled for downtown, but that location might change, but it's an exciting program. Camp Create, a theater and visual arts camp for children with special needs. This is a fabulous program. There are 2 sessions. This first session starts August 4th through the 9th of August to 10 a.m. to 2. There's lots of information and literature in here, so I don't want to go through all that information just right there. And the last but not least, our recycling department. We dare you to take on our challenge, Recycling Challenge. We have 1 year to gather. This is Lackawanna County, but also municipalities are able to join in and do this as well. We have 1 year to gather 1,000 pounds of plastic, and they list specific plastics on here that they're looking to gather and obtain. The program is partnered with Next Trex organization. You achieve 1,000 pounds, and the municipality will get a plastic bench that you can display proudly wherever you like. So that's all I have. I will stay here if anybody has any questions afterwards with regards to Lackawanna County. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
That's all for our sign-in sheet. Anyone else wish to address council?
Good evening, Council. Doris Kolowski, Scranton resident. Mr. Smurl, please feel free to interrupt me and correct me with anything I say that's not accurate, because you will know. I wanted to discuss the light show at Naog Park. I'm not a board member up there or anything like that. I'm just a volunteer up there and go there all the time and volunteer during that light show a lot. And I read in the paper, and I saw the ads in the legal, and I was wondering why the city would be paying somebody to do all that when all this past years, when it's been a beautiful light show, there was a couple of DPW workers, I believe, and volunteers setting it up and taking it down and putting it away and screwing light bulbs in and things like that. I took part in that. So I thought, why are we spending money where we don't have to? I mean, if it ends up that later on volunteers can't do it, then put it out to bid. My next question was going to be, if the city is taking over the light show, if that's their intention to do that at the park, are they going to be responsible for signing up all the volunteers for the collections? And who is going to take care of the broken wires off and on that I know Mr. Smurl will know because he's repaired them and Sam has repaired them and different people in the middle of the light show when they have it. So that's basically all I really wanted to know, and I know the money raised for the light show as of now supports the park, the recreation authorities, activities and things that the park needs that's not provided by the city. And so what's going to happen? Is NAOG Recreation going to lose that money, or is it just that this, I don't know. I don't understand the whole thing. The only thing I thought of was maybe the union didn't want any workers to come up there, but I don't know if that's true. That's a guess. So I really don't know, and I just think it's sad when you're spending money when you don't have to. And that brings me to consultants things where maybe I'm wrong, but hiring consultants for every single thing, like the walkability study and things like that, to me, they charge a lot of money. I know when I worked for 30 years at the same warehouse, the company brought in consultants to see how we could be more efficient. And all the consultants did was walk around and ask all of us what we needed to be more efficient. So they could have saved themselves like $10,000 or whatever they paid just by maybe calling all the employees together and asking them. So I don't think you need a consultant for everything that you're doing. I think that sometimes you can just ask the people involved what's the best way to go. Now, before I run out of time, I just wanted to also ask if anything was going on with my 421 Colfax Avenue, if it was put back on the list or anything, because 2 kids up there last week, I think I messaged people here on the council, almost got really hurt there. There's new tenants in that middle house, and the little kids were trying to lift that sidewalk, the slate part, not those big concrete parts. I ran out of my car to go up there to stop them just when the older sister came out and caught it. He almost dropped the whole thing on his foot. And another kid later on was riding those little electric scooter things on the sidewalk. He's not old enough to ride in the street. And he went to go around it into the grass, and there's another piece of cement in the grass there, and he went flying right off the curb into the street. Thank God nothing was coming. So I know it's whose responsibility it is to, even if they just remove those pieces, I'm not asking them to put a whole sidewalk in, if it's not the city's responsibility, but to set someone up, just even to move the slate pieces so people, it'll be all dirt and people could just go over it. And then, of course, my last but not least is that curb cut has not been done on Olive Street in Colfax. I believe they might have done it up at the other curb, but they haven't cut that. And that gives me 27 seconds to say thank you for listening and have a good evening.
Thank you, Doris. Mr. Voldenberg, I believe we've got a response that they were going to look at the sidewalks or do something with the sidewalks up there a few weeks ago. Will you recheck on that? That's the abandoned house that was on the demolition list. Now it's off the demolition list.
That's right, it's not on the demolition list, and
But the
Code
sidewalks
Enforcement
are
and
really bad.
DPW were advised about the sidewalks, but I'll follow up.
Okay, thank you.
John Coyne, Manuka. Now, it seems that some of the stuff I was going to talk about has already been discussed, so I'll briefly go over that. But first of all, I was handed this a few minutes ago, and it reminded me the city had an inquiry over the files that were left back outside of the personnel files. They were left outside of this building. I understand they hired an attorney, and we're wondering if we could get any update on where that stands at this point.
I will ask.
Thank you. From the article, it looked like License and Inspection was going to be handing out those Garrity gift cards, just by the way the article was written. If that's not true, that's perfectly fine. But I look at it and I go, you're looking to give gift cards to people who have perfectly manicured and groomed lawns. So the people who are most likely in need, who have a lesser groomed property, get nothing. I question the involvement of a department that's been rife with favoritism, protectionism, that's been caught collecting recyclables in dumpsters in parks and at the University of Scranton unpaid city time for personal profit, who is now the judge of who gets free money. Is there going to be an audit and a showing of who receives these free gift cards? Free food gift cards should have been handed out to a food shelter or for the homeless, the people who actually need them. You want license and inspection to hand out gift cards, then do contract work with lawn care landscapers who will donate a set number of cleanup, mowing, landscaping as one time for those gifts for people whose properties are becoming derelict, who actually need help, not the people who can hire a landscaper to manicure their lawn and to do it for them so they get a bonus card for having the money to have someone else do it. I think it's completely unfair, and the people who actually need help, the seniors who can't get out because it's 90 degrees, to do that lawn care, maybe something to help them would be more beneficial in a gift card for license and inspection, rather than a ticket on the door. Has anyone yet changed the financial interest forms to reflect a spouse or partner as required yet on the forms? On to disabled parking that's on the agenda tonight. Again, it's listed as changing the fine from $55 to $50, which is going in the wrong direction. Second, don't use the car plate, use the handicap tag number ID on it. It's numbered, they have a car, if they have a car on a shop, or they're having their family transport them around, they can use it on whatever car they're in for that space. Tying it to a car, if that car's in the shop, means they cannot use their space. The handicap tags have physical numbers on them, and the spaces should be restricted to that, not a car. There's absolutely no reason for a ladder system on these fine systems. It should not be a first, second, or third offense. You park in the spot, you get a ticket, you get towed. That's what other cities do, and the fines up there are $125 to $250 for the first time. You get picked up. If you're not back in there at time, they hook up the car, then you get towing and storage fees from the towing company, and you're winding up for a $300 to $500 bill to get your car back. Once you do that once of parking in someone else's disabled parking, you're not going to do it again. Three years ago, I brought that forth in front of this body, but it seems that last week, everyone in the council got glad-handed and patted on the back for that same suggestion. It's not a new idea. I just find it disingenuous that the citizens here who interact and give ideas, when things actually come about, city council pats themselves on the back and never refers to the people in this body who brought forth the original ideas to say, nice job, thank you for bringing it forward. We're moving forward with you for the city. But that doesn't happen. Last, we have a park director it seems, refuses to get lifeguard training, refuses to move into the city, unable to secure park centers and assure they are locked, who is unable to evaluate the safety and put a plan in motion on pools before they had closed for the summer, who cannot lock park facilities. And now we have a planned outside contractor to put up Christmas lights in Nayog Park that have been installed for years because the park director can't even run a park. Maybe we need to get rid of the park director and just pay an outside contractor.
Thank you, Mr. Coyne.
Because
Anyone
nothing
else?
is happening
Thank you.
that way. Thank you very much and have a great night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Council. My name is Amy Cusick. I'm a West Scranton resident and president of Christmas Miracles from Heaven. First and foremost, I just want to thank City Council for all of your help and cooperation in the Washburn Street cleanup. I also want to thank the Northeast Pennsylvania Bikers for Justice, the Black Sheep of West Scranton Neighbors Association, Bogies for Berkeley, AOH Division 4 Scranton, Make-A-Wish Foundation, and NeighborWorks Northeastern Pennsylvania for all of their help in making the Washburn Street Cemetery what it should be. With that being said, just give you guys a brief update. Last Saturday, we had 60 volunteers in over 90-degree weather. On behalf of all of us at Christmas Miracles from Heaven, we wish Brian the best, and if there's anything we can do, please let us know. I just wanted to revisit my last visit here. I know we were asking for some answers about, was the owner ever cited? Was he ever fined? I just wanted to see if we had any resolution as far as that is concerned. As I stated, it's not just the Scranton community. I am now being contacted. This week I was contacted by a lady from Colorado who saw our stories in the news and in the newspapers. And unfortunately, they're asking me questions that I'm coming here to ask you, and I don't have no answers to give them. So I just wanted to follow up, see where we stand with all of that, and just thank you guys for your time. One more thing before I go. I was actually introduced to the another agency from the West Scranton Youth Center. It is opening up on Washburn Street. They are also having a block party on July 20th from 1 to 4 for the residents to come out and take a tour of the facility. They're going to have music, arts, and I believe wrestling there as well. So if we can just check those out as well. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Amy, we did get a couple answers on the citation. So, in 2018, a formal citation was issued through the county court system, and no ruling was made by the magistrate because they were given time to correct it. And in 2018, I believe they did correct the issue. It's been the worst in the last 2 years. Last year, a quality of life violation was issued in May of 22. That was issued, but it was never followed up with the city through the magistrate. And then they issued a most recent violation on Monday, the 8th, which was yesterday. So I planned in fifth order to ask what the resolution of that is and wait to hear what comes out of that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Council. We appreciate your help.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Dave Dobson, resident, taxpayer, and so forth. I keep hearing about blight and people coming up here with blight. And then the next thing you know, they're complaining about code enforcement. And sometimes it's the same people. What I see, the city that greatly improved, and a lot of people trying to make the best out of who and what they can do. And, decide what you want to complain about. And another thing, many times people are coming up here and crowing about corruption. I don't see any corruption going on. I might disagree with the idea that somebody has, but I don't think it's corrupt. It just is. I got a little overboard with the streetscape deal. Well, guess what? A candidate for council came in here and at the podium and said he thought $7.25 an hour was a good pay. So guess what? You don't have anything to worry about as far as my vote. You'll get it, as long as you don't say something like that. And as far as the expressway or anything, I felt that we should have got a banner up or something in honor of Joe Biden, and I felt it was overboard, but overboard is being obsessed with something forever. It's just kind of silly. Now, on our national level, homelessness is now illegal thanks to the Supreme Court. So they could put you in jail and you'll cost $25,000, $30,000 a year, and maybe even make you work over the recycling center or something. And back in the day in Georgia, when we had a depression, the average sentence for vagrancy was 3 years, and you stood a 27% chance of never walking out of that prison alive. So some people have some funny ideas in this country, and it's a shame they do, because they've had everything in their life that they have no right to complain. It was disclosed, I think yesterday, on one of my tireless and obsessive newscasts. I guess that's my obsession. Trump was on the phone to Putin a day or two before the invasion of Ukraine. So let's not worry about a Ukrainian flag. Just get them what they need. And there's good things that happen for Scranton area. The ammunition plant is raising its production 400% by a year from now. So hopefully they'll get to where they need to be, all of those bombs. And, talk about embarrassments. We had forest fires, and our former president was talking about the fires to the president of Finland, and the president of Finland told him that we raked the leaves. And he actually took that serious. I mean, come on. And as far as the Democrat whiners and bedwetters, wise up. Wise up. You got Joe, and that's it. You run with them. And the suggestion for Republicans that caught my eye in the past, General Eisenhower was one of my favorite presidents of the 20th century, and I got my eye on General Milley. Republicans, please, reform your party and stop being an avenue for constant malice and mistreatment of everybody else. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay. I'm here tonight for 3 reasons, and the first one is because I knew there was air conditioning in here. So I'm soaking up the cold air for as long as I can. I have a few things. One is the status of the contract that was, I believe it was June of last year, reviewing the tax-exempt properties. Where does that stand?
It is still ongoing.
What was the length of the contract? Because that's a year already gone. Do we?
I'm not sure what the total life of the hub contract was, but it is actually still active.
Okay, maybe you could get when the.
Well, I do have more information. I'll get what they gave us and have Frank get it to you.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Yes, thank you. Now on this, who does the work? DPW or contracted?
On what?
People? Pardon?
The work for where?
Well, right now for the decorations, the Christmas decorations.
Parks and Recreation put those up. The decorations, they put them up.
And I think that, so it was never budgeted then?
In Parks and Recreation, no, it was not.
So it's not, there is no budget for them. Are they planning, if this goes through, to transfer some budget from someplace else to pay for this? if they go ahead with it?
I'm not sure of the total idea of what they're asking for, Marie. I believe it's to erect and to remove all of the decorations. The Recreation Authority will still run the light show. They will still do the volunteers and all of that. I don't know all of the details about this contract as of yet.
Okay. Thank you. And what about walkability? For a while, it appeared that we were going to go gung-ho into the walkability, and I haven't seen any changes in a lot of the, I know that a lot of the traffic signal changers are not working. And does anybody ever check those and get them fixed?
You mean the button, they push the button and it makes, yes. I believe the city did ask for a list, and I believe we were given that, the list from Joan. So I hope they're working on them.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll ask Joan then
Yeah, she
how many of
provided
them
the
have
city
been
with a list.
changed, because I know she walks a lot in the city, so.
Yeah,
we'll
she
see.
had the list.
Okay, so anything else going to happen with the walkability?
Well, it is still in progress. I know there are other things that have to happen first. We have to put conduits throughout the entire downtown to run all of the underground wiring and stuff. A lot of the stuff is old, but everything that's above ground now, those old poles that are really in rough condition, all of the wiring has to go underground. So that's the first step, and I believe that's going to be part of one of our agenda items tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Mike Mancini, Scranton. Tonight I'm going to talk about the ultimate disrespect and betrayal. This past Saturday I also was at the Washburn Street Cemetery along with Council President Smurl, Councilman Schuster, and many other people. We worked very hard in a short period of time. We got a lot done. There's so much more to do. All right. I'm going to say a name that this body cannot say. Dominic Graziano. He's the owner of this cemetery. He should be ashamed of himself. There are so many veterans that are there. Found a Purple Heart this past Saturday. You know, we were pushing through the cemetery and you really couldn't even read the names because there was so much to do. We were overwhelmed. I'm sure both of you felt the same way. And for somebody just to have a blatant disregard towards a family for a loved one that passed away really hurts. I feel that firsthand. Thankfully, my son is laid to rest in a beautiful cemetery up on Davis Street. I'm also going to speak about our current mayor in the same sentence: disrespect, betrayal. You know, when you have a park system through the county, like Dave Park, that has to shut down because there's so many kids that want to swim, it really hurts. You know, we grew up having memories of pools, and for NAOG not to be open until September of next year. What's that going to be, 7 years? An 11-year-old will become an adult before they could experience that pool once again. It's shameful on so many levels. Something that ended up in Sunday's paper concerned our safety. Police department calls going up, frequency of the calls, nature of the calls. One thing that didn't hit the paper on Sunday, because unfortunately, with the Scranton Times, it's yesterday's news tomorrow. There was a 20-year-old autistic kid that was assaulted and hit in the back of the head with a butt of a gun. All right, a little bit after 11. It was I guess an isolated incident. It was a bolo out for an orange vehicle with Jersey plates. You know, calls like this are never ending. Virgil Argenta didn't get a chance to speak tonight because he's down in South Carolina, down at Myrtle Beach, visiting his son, who's a third-generation police officer. He's down there because the test that we have is not in conformance with state standards. You know, state police have a test, but apparently with our test and all the money that we spent on it, trying to recruit good applicants, we got 130 of them. Do you know how many are left? There's 3 steps left. There's 10. We'll be lucky if 5 shake out from that, 5 or 6 out of 130. I wish the mayor would quit breaking things, all right? We're down to like a half a pool. It seems like she's trying to tank our city for some reason. It's not right. You know, I brought up several different things in front of this body, like pavement and the pave cuts and the way that the utilities go about filling them. Why don't one of you perhaps have Mr. Voldenberg send the ordinance to the utilities so they can conform with their standards? You know, we're putting money into things that we shouldn't. They're causing all of these problems with our streets. Two of the biggest things, safety and infrastructure. People are afraid to even sit on their porch. You know, I brought up a curfew. Wilkes-Barre has had theirs in place for almost 2 years now. We have one of the best attorneys in the county that could actually take a look at Wilkes-Barre's curfew and see if it conforms with our standards. You know, deterrence is a huge thing. Also huge for us is our kids' future. And together, with that railway system coming through, and our congressman saying that it's going to turn around in 28, I hope this body could turn around too, because the mayor's doing nothing for the city, and it's up to each one of you to do much better than her. You know, this time, December 31st, 2025, you're fired.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini.
Good evening, Council.
Anyone else?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. King, do you have any motions or comments?
Just a few comments. I know that it gets frustrating at times, you know, we don't have, you know, we're down to 1 pool, I think at this time, up at Weston Park, Weston Field. I think it's important to note, though, that a lot of these things have been left to go or rot for years, but there are plans in place. Connell Park pool is going to be replaced. The Weston Field pool is going to be replaced, and there's going to be a skate park put down there. We just had Oakmont Park was just transformed up on the East Mountain. The work is presently being done on Robinson Park on East Mountain. I've been watching the progress of that work right at Mountain Lake. Looks, it's going to be tremendous when that's done. Naog, granted, the timeline is going to take a while, but the point is it's a work in progress, and it is going to take some time, but I think there is a focus on trying to improve parks in this city. I've seen a lot of paving, a lot of streets improved in the city, you know, recently. We've improved our finances. We're now a BBB plus S&P rating. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we were financially distressed for 30 years. And I understand we have a big city, there's lots of problems. Not going to deny that. There will always be problems, no doubt. I think we're blessed. We have an outstanding professional police department, outstanding professional fire department. We do need to replace some of our department heads that have been sitting there without leadership. That needs to be addressed. So I know that there are issues, I know that there are problems, but there's some good things happening in this city as well. And I think it would be disingenuous to not point out some of those great things that are happening. The infrastructure, all the work that's being done with the stormwater situation for East Mountain and the Kaiser Valley and Manuka. All those plans are in place. So I just feel it's important to point out some of the positive things that are happening in our city. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I have a few. So last week I posed the question about Ryerson Avenue and the impact when the Meadowbrook flood project starts. There were some questions. There was a lot of vehicles that are on Ryerson Avenue, and they're not going to be able to park on Ryerson once that work starts. So the question was, currently on Ryerson Avenue, there's 22 vehicles that use that street to park. From my understanding, there's going to be no parking on that street for at least 18 months was the timeline for that project. So the answer that we got was that the city is investigating adding parking on the north side of Delaware Ave by making the street a one-way from Washington Ave to Penn Avenue and potentially having parking permits for the Ryerson residents. The total duration of the complete project is 18 months, but we'll limit but we're going to limit the contractor's time to have Ryerson closed to a much shorter duration than that 18 months. But that's still being determined. They're going to continue to work with the city on accommodating those Ryerson Avenue residents, and I'll get that out to them as well. A few times I asked for updates on some of the FEMA projects in the city. We had flooding in 2018. We had 53 projects that were to be completed. We did have a timeline and a deadline for those, and we got several extensions on that. So about 2 months ago, we were given the update that of the 53 projects, 25 of them were completed. So I just wanted to follow up with an update on this. Can we, Frank, can we ask the administration to provide an update? Are we running on time? Will all projects be completed by that last deadline we received? Have we completed all of those 25 projects? And if we have not, do we feel that another deadline will be granted?
I'll ask those questions, sir.
Thank you. Can we also ask, I know we got an answer on this last week, but can we just ask, who is the person that's approving expenditures at DPW?
I'll ask that.
I sent an email over about some storm sewers. I got somewhat of an update on the traffic light on North Main Avenue. So we had some issues that came up with the traffic light on North Main Avenue in the expressway. The issue with the light, I was told, was fixed. And from my understanding, there was two issues. There was a vent shade along with a major portion of the box that needed to be replaced. The city DPW contractor made the repair, but they had to drive a long distance on Saturday to get the parts. So these lights were installed less than 6 months ago. So my question is, Mr. Voldenberg, is it the city's responsibility to fix this part and take on the cost? Or should PennDOT or the contractor be responsible for this, if the administration can clarify who's responsible for that fix on that light?
I'll find that out.
Yeah. I had a few other things, but that's all for the night.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Mr. McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
I do have a couple. So, first off, I also take issue with having an outside firm or group handling the Christmas decorations at Nayak Park. I don't know if you remember, but last year, the mayor got an assistant parks director in the budget. I believe he should be tasked with that responsibility. My opinion, but, if it's not broke, why are we trying to fix it and throw money at it? So, I'll have to see what it's going to cost. It's going to have to come through us anyways when the bidding process is over, so we'll see what happens there. Also, there's been a few complaints and about tractors, the part of the tractor trailer that are being parked all over the city. I know you sent inquiry to the proper departments, but I just actually got another text right now. But I got calls last week. So there seems to be more parked everywhere throughout the city. So could you ask for an update with regards to what action is being taken or, how it's going to be enforced? Mr.
I will,
Voldenberg.
Mr. McAndrew. We had a large number of them removed from the South Scranton area recently.
Okay.
But I'll get a better fix on them.
Thank you. And then I also received a text. Let me see. from a gentleman that said, because we want to give some kudos out to DPW. The storms recently are ridiculous again. And he said, I just want to let DPW know that there were 2 huge trees were hanging over the road really low into the power lines, causing a huge safety issue in this gentleman's neighborhood. He said he called DPW yesterday around noon, and they had a crew out here this morning on the hottest day of the year and cut them back to make them safe. He said he just wanted to, relay that to, me and make sure DPW is recognized for that. And that is all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. The Washburn Street Cemetery, this has been a headache for many, many years. I've looked back almost 30 years back, and there doesn't seem to be a cure for it. I understand we could write citations daily. I think the problem is, even if it goes to the magistrate and it's sent forward after that, they basically write a warrant, and then what happens? We don't know, unless they get pulled over for a violation or something. How do you find these people? And from what I'm told, there is no money there anyway to take from these people or whoever is running this. I did read some things that he had spoken with the Scranton Times, Chris Kelly article, I believe it was, that he hasn't got any money to do anything in the Washburn Street Park. I don't know what the answer is, but we can write violations every day, but unfortunately, I don't believe that's the answer. I don't have the answer, but going after somebody that doesn't have anything, I don't know how we're going to do that. And I certainly don't want the city to take over a cemetery for cutting and stuff. So thank God there's people going out and doing it. I know in April, another article, April '93, there were over 200 people went out to that cemetery and they cleaned it. And there are a lot of city employees went out and cleaned that entire cemetery up. So this is an ongoing problem for way back, 30 years from what I've seen, to help with that. And there are other cemeteries that are taken care of by that person, but they're not in good shape either. The cards, the gift cards, the $25 gift cards. First of all, I want to thank Garrity Supermarket, who is donating donating $5,000 worth the gift cards. This came about months ago, quite a few months ago at a neighborhood meeting. The mayor had brought it, and the idea of this is they pick houses in the neighborhoods, and they pick the houses, not the houses that are taken care of by landscapers or by, professional yard care people. These are people that show incentive in their neighborhood and go and keep their properties and help their neighbors in keeping everything clean. I don't know the exact details of the whole part or of the entire way they're going to do this program, but it's in the works, and it is a good idea. There's always something we could do to appreciate our neighbors that are taking care of their properties, even if they aren't the richest people there. That's not what this is for. This is to thank the people that are actually doing it and helping their neighbors and helping us keep our neighborhoods clean. So, and again, thank Garrity's for the $5,000 in gift cards. The Christmas lights, when went into the paper for an RFP, I was just as surprised as everyone. I didn't know that was coming. I had no idea. I did ask what it was for. I was told it is just to get an idea, and if anybody would be interested in giving us a price on erecting them and taking them down. And they do need a lot of work. They do need a lot of maintenance, but we do also need a place to store them. Putting them in trailers pretty much destroys that equipment. We're slamming them in trailers every year. It's not safe for either parks workers or anyone to be doing that type of work. They get cut constantly on those things. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Now, I'm not looking to get rid of this at all. I know it's going to go back up again this year. I don't know if Parks is going to do it, but they're looking for a price right now, and that's as far as I know what's going on with that. One more thing, Mr. Voldenberg, I was sent a message at the bottom of Richter Avenue by the pump station where the baseball field is. Somebody just dumped a pile of truck tires there. If we can send that to DPW.
I will, sir.
And I believe that is all. Oh, an update from our attorney on the Well, I'll send that down to you separate. And that is all I have.
5B for introduction, an ordinance ratifying and approving an intergovernmental agreement of cooperation and memorandum of understanding between the City of Scranton and the Borough of Moosic regarding coordination on zoning, planning, and code enforcement of 53 Glenmara National Boulevard.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
I make a motion to suspend the rules to move item 5B to 6th and 7th orders for a final vote.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and other appropriate officials of the City of Scranton to take all necessary actions to implement the HUD 2024 Annual Action Plan for Community Planning and Development Programs to be funded under the Community Development Block Grant Program, Home Investment Partnership Program, and Home Emergency Solutions Grants Program for the period beginning January 1st, 2024.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5D for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Multiskate, Inc. to perform NAOG pool construction.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question,
On the question, I'm excited to actually get to this point where we're going to be hiring a company to start to get that work done. And it's the beginning of getting a pool back up at NAOG Park, which is, I know it's not going to be completed till September of 2025, but we got to get started somewhere, somehow. So I'm happy that this is happening finally.
I also, of course, I'm excited with Ag Park, but the reason there are a lot of other things that have to be done at Park before we could actually start construction of the pools. There are pickleball courts going in. There's another playground up higher going in. There are multi-purpose courts going in, and among other things. But the main thing is the stormwater. Everything up there has to be caught now and taken down, and it's going to be, that entire place has to be all piped underground to take care of all of the stormwater and naturally the wastewater and the water and sewer supply. So that is a huge part before we could even touch starting the pool. So hopefully, I'm hoping that will be done this fall. All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5E for introduction, a resolution accepting a donation in the amount of $5,000 in the form of 200 gift cards valued at $25 each and for use at Garrity Supermarket as part of the Good Neighbors Program.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5E be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question,
On the question, I just want to thank Garrity's for their very gracious and generous donation. Looking and giving back to our residents. I think it's fantastic.
I agree with that. Garrity's has been really a great community partner. They've been extremely generous, giving back to the city.
So while everyone's at it, I will also thank Gary, so thank you for your donation.
thank you. All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5F for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with D&M Construction Unlimited, Inc. for construction services of the Weston Field Pool.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5F be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question,
On the question, once again, another park that has needed a tremendous amount of work, and I'm happy to say that, we're going to pass this resolution, hopefully get this contract started so that we can begin to improve Weston Field Pool. Greatly needed for our kids.
All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5G for introduction, a resolution, amending Resolution Number 69 of 2022 as amended, entitled, a resolution as amended entitled, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate officials of the city of Scranton to take all necessary actions in the amount of $68,746,050 to reallocate funds from various budgeted ARPA accounts to allow the public sector capacity and surface transportation projects.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5G be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question,
On the question, a piece of this money to be allocated is the amount of $582,522.50. It's going to be reallocated to, well, it was originally earmarked for auditing of the ARPA funds. So if we could just ask before this comes into seventh order, I'm trying to think about it because the way it's worded in here, but do we no longer need this large amount of money for auditing of ARPA funds? I know we're moving that over to software for the police department, but if we could just get the reasoning of why we're reallocating such a large amount of money that was dedicated to auditing.
I'll get that information, sir.
Thank you.
okay. And I also, I looked at this a number of times. A lot of this transference stuff, there's a lot of crosswalks being done, and this also includes some of the conduit and wiring underground. And the ESRI software, it is actually for police, fire, DPW, LIPS, and the entire city to try and tie everything back together. We can go over this more during the week. I did see somewhere in there, Tom, that it said that they had enough money for the budget, but I didn't go too
Yeah,
deep
it said they had enough money, I think, in the general. That's why
For the audit,
that's why
yeah.
I was slowly processing through that. I was trying to think of where it came from, but they did state that they had money for the auditing. I just wanted to know, since it's such a large number, that just to get that clarified for us.
Yeah, I did see it too.
And
Thank you.
yeah, the things that it's being allocated for, I think, are much needed.
Yeah.
Recently, I've had a lot of complaints about the crosswalks on Main Avenue in particular. I know one of those areas that we got a complaint about, there was a woman that was killed in the area last year. So I think, getting those crosswalks
That'd be
fixed
great.
and current is definitely something we need to do.
All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5H for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into contracts with Environmental Systems Research Institute to provide the city with the ARC GIS platforms, premium features, and support services and training.
At this time, entertain a motion that item 5H be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5I for introduction, a resolution, reappointment of James McDermott, Scranton, Pennsylvania 18509, as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of Scranton. Mr. McDermott's term will commence July 1st, 2024, and expire on July 1st, 2029.
At this time, entertain a motion that item 5I be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5J for introduction, a resolution adopting a proposed revision to the official sewage facilities plan for new land development at 923 Wyoming Avenue.
At this time, entertain a motion that item 5J be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have it. No. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to move item 5J to seventh order for a final vote.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, reading by title, filed to council number 23, 2024, an ordinance amending the city's reserved parking program for persons with disabilities and severely disabled veteran and related provisions.
You've heard reading by title of item 6A. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
6B, reading by title, filed to council number 24, 2024, an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement with Street Cats and Dogs, Inc. for use of the premises commonly known as the Ash Street Firehouse at 1409 Ash Street in Scranton.
You've heard reading by title of item 6B. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6B pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
6C, formerly 5B, reading by title, filed to council number 25, 2024, an ordinance ratifying and approving an intergovernmental agreement of cooperation and memorandum of understanding between the City of Scranton and Borough of Moosic regarding coordination on zoning, planning, and code enforcement of 53 Glenmara National Boulevard.
You've heard reading by title of item 6C. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6C pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
I make a motion to table item 7A.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second to table item 7A. On the question,
So before we move ahead, we do have to read it by the city clerk before we make that motion. This is 7A. Also, before we also move ahead, we had item 6C. Do we need an item 6D for what was previously item 5J? Okay, all right, sorry. Thank you.
Mr. President, that should be read before 7A.
it is,
Before?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We need you to read 7A.
Oh, again?
Yes.
Okay. There is a motion on the floor and a second to table item 7A. On the question.
Pardon me, Mr. President. Actually, 7A, the clerk should read the actual title prior to you voting on the tabling,
Okay?
so the public is aware of what's being tabled.
Oh, then I jumped the gun.
That's,
Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, filed to council number 21, 2024, removing outdated flood plan management provisions of Scranton City Code.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to table item 7A.
Second.
Second.
there's a motion on the floor and a second to table item 7A. On the question.
On the question, it's my understanding that the administration has a few concerns they need to research or look into prior to moving forward with this, and we want to make sure that the legislation is accurate and legal before we make any final vote.
All those in favor of tabling item 7A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, filed to council number 22, 2024, providing for the regulation and control of stormwater management in the City of Scranton for the Lackawanna River watershed pursuant to Pennsylvania Stormwater Management Act 167, as amended, by providing for the approval of stormwater plans, providing standards and methodologies for the design of stormwater controls, the administration of this ordinance by the City of Scranton, and penalties for the violation of this ordinance.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, Resolution Number 60, 2024, for plan revision for new land development proposed at 930 Hickory Street, Scranton, Pennsylvania.
What is the recommendation of the Vice Chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As Vice Chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of 7C.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 61, 2024, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into an agreement with Woodland Design Associates, Inc. for city planning and zoning professional services.
As Chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question.
On the question, so I had several questions I asked last week. We do have a city planner, we do have an assistant city planner, we have a zoning officer. I just wanted to clarify the duties of this contractor before we moved ahead with this legislation. I wanted a definitive answer on how many hours they'll be working. So it is 8 hours a month they will be working. But the answer I got was that Woodland Design Associates will assist the city zoning officer in review of zoning aspects of the new ordinance, permit applications, zoning variance applications, subdivisions, land development plans. They'll also assist the zoning officer to evaluate potential zoning violations and assist with preparing zoning violation notices. Woodland Design will also assist the city planner on as-needed basis to review planning aspects of land development, subdivisions, flood plan permits, variance applications, occupancy of city rights-of-way, and define roles of the city planner, city planning commission. They're in collaboration with the city. They're going to work on a subdivision and land development ordinance. All right. So sorry, I went through that. So that was the answer I did receive. So when it comes to this, they're going to be working on a new subdivision and land development ordinance with city planning, with the city planner, and also with zoning. I was hoping to see that they were going to be helping with, looking at those gaps that we've identified in the zoning ordinance. Did we get any kind of answer as to whether they would be doing any of those services?
At the meeting I had with the mayor and Eileen Cipriani, I had asked if we would be able to speak with them on the concerns of the zoning that when they came here for the caucus. And they said, yes, they would probably be able to give us advice on them too. My main concern was 600 square foot and a bunch of things like that, same as the zoning board members had the same thing. So as long as we have access to that, and this is what they specialize in, I was okay with it.
Yeah, we didn't really, they said they may be able to though, so we didn't get a definitive answer if they're going to definitively work with them to fix those, right?
No, I believe they were going to wait for us to send it as an amended to the zoning ordinance.
And then they would be able to review it?
Yes, but I believe they're waiting for us to do that first.
All right, did we get any more on what the subdivision and land development ordinance is going to be?
That I did
just
not ask.
updating?
No.
Okay. All right, with that being said, I don't like to see contractors, a lot of the early language here seems like it's helping the zoning officer with interpreting the ordinance and helping them with zoning violations, but seeing that they're going to be working to develop a new ordinance and to update it, I would be in favor of this.
Okay.
On the question, this is another consultant, another helper, another assistant. It doesn't stop. I know it's 20 grand max, but 20, and there's one that was 40, and there's one that's 100. This money adds up. I believe that the people that work in this department are very capable and knowledgeable of zoning. They were part of coming up with the new zoning ordinance, and now they need help to understand it or decipher it. I'm sorry, because once we get this consultant doesn't go away, folks. That's what happened. They stay, and at the cost of the taxpayer. So I'll be voting no for this.
Before we move ahead with this, I'd really like to make a motion to table this so we can get a definitive answer as to what this new ordinance that will be crafted is going to look like, what it makes up, like what what's incorporated into this ordinance. Looking at the consultant piece, that is how I feel about consultants, especially, like I said, with the early piece, the early answer of this seems like they're going to be helping the zoning officer to complete his job, which seems they would be job duties of the zoning officer. But I really would like to make a motion to table this to see if we can get some more information on what we're looking to do with this new land development ordinance.
Okay, so now we have a motion to table. We have a second.
Motion to table.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to table and second. Do we want to do a roll call on this, or do all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye?
Should be a roll call.
Roll call. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
No.
To table?
No to table. I was a no for the...
Okay.
I'm no to table, thank you.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes. Yes. So 3-1, motion is tabled.
And then with that being said, if we can get a definitive answer on whether they would be helping to update the 2023 zoning ordinance.
I would like to support this. I think it is appropriate we get some more answers on this before any final approval.
Okay.
7E, formerly 6C, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, filed to Council Number 25, 2024, ratifying and approving an intergovernmental agreement of cooperation and memorandum of understanding between the City of Scranton and Borough of Moosic regarding coordination on zoning, planning, and code enforcement of 53 Glenmara National Boulevard.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted.
7F, formerly 5J, for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, Resolution Number 68, 2024, adopting a proposed revision to the official sewage facilities plan for new land development at 923 Wyoming Avenue.
What is the recommendation of the Vice Chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As Vice Chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7F.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7F legally and lawfully adopted.
8th order, no business at this time.
I would like to speak before we adjourn. So I just want to refer back to 6A. And so I wasn't here last week when this was introduced, okay? But I have in the past have stated that some of our best ideas come from our residents or during public comment. And I've said that more than once and given credit where credit's due. So this piece of legislation, or the amendment of the reserve parking program, was brought to our attention by Mr. Coyne and also another resident that was experiencing issues in front of her own property. So I give credit where credit's due. I wasn't here last week, but when this was brought forth to me, of course, I gave it to our solicitor to do the research and go through the proper steps and procedures. So I really didn't get to speak to it, but I don't know if all of my colleagues are in favor, but I believe that the sign itself should have on it, the signs aren't made yet, we have time to make sure that we, dot our I's and cross our T's, but I believe the sign should have on it, vehicle will be towed. Should appear on the sign, because what might happen is, okay, and the fine, I'm not happy reducing the fine. I think, this disabled people have to deal with a lot of stuff and throughout their day, and reducing the fine isn't much of a deterrent. But my issue is, and others are, okay, what if somebody parks there for, okay, not an hour, 5 hours, or a weekend, or days? This happens all throughout the city where people will park a car and they're gone. So this poor resident would have to deal with that. So I know the key to all of this is going to be enforcement. with our fantastic police department, but I just believe that the towing piece of it should appear on the sign as the initial deterrent. You know, I guess, and we could talk about the rest of the enforcement, say, you know, it's 50, whatever it's going to be, $50 instead of 55. But okay, $50 the first hour. After that, it's towed. So I would like to see that communicated to administration. I don't know if my colleagues are in agreement, but I just think we have to, we got to get it right. It has to be clear. So it's a great understanding for the whole city what's, you know, what could happen or actually should happen.
Mr. McAndrew, that's in 6th order, right? And we just moved it to 7th order?
Yes.
Okay, because it'll be...
It just left 6, yeah.
Because it'll be a new ordinance, so maybe we could put that request in to maybe put an amendment that would include that. I think would be appropriate.
Well, just have administration do it by next week. Please.
Council?
Yes.
So under the state law that provides for this type of ordinance within the localities, the law provides that in order for towing to be open, there has to be a sign that says this vehicle will be towed. I've already been in discussions with the legal department with regard to the how this will go forward from here once you pass it, assuming you pass it. And they assure me that, in fact, particularly with regard to this new program of reserved handicap parking, the signs that will go out will have the license plate number as is provided under the legislation, as well as the you will be towed on the sign.
That'll appear on the sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is provided for under the state authorization legislation.
It was something, we did have a little bit of a discussion about that on the question last week.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for the clarity. I just want to make sure it happens.
Very good. Anyone else?
Because it's not really doesn't stay in the legislation.
No, no, nothing says.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
If there is no further business, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.